Josephine would just be turning 9 years old, right?
Right, on the 11th.
On the 11th. Can you tell us a little bit about her? What do you remember most about her?
A tremendous amount of joy and happiness, a lot of giggles, and just affection like no other child. I mean, I've known a lot of amazing children. I have 2 other amazing children, but there was something really different about this child and the way that she was able to relate to people without even any words. So just a really special, special soul.
Yeah, right. Tell us about that. Josephine wasn't able to speak.
Right. She was apraxic and she was autistic. So her communication was all through affection and touching and sign language and assistive technology using the iPad and some software that we had on there. Yeah, and she would take you around the house and demonstrate what it was that she wanted to have you do or get. And she was quite an effective communicator. She developed amazing relationships with adults and with her peers, her fellow first graders.
So they were able to understand her.
Probably better than the rest of us. Yes, yes.
Really? How did that work? How did she talk to them?
I can't really explain it, but they just all had this extraordinary connection. They had true friendships, and as the parent of an autistic child, that's something that you're always, concerned about for your child. You want them to be able to relate to other children. You want them to be able to have authentic friendships, and she did. She had extraordinary friends.
And in fact, she was going to have them all over to the house for her birthday party?
That's right. The party was set for the day after the tragedy occurred. And I just remember thinking to myself, you know what? I'm not going to get too caught up in the fact that we have to cancel this party here, because I know that she and her friends and her teachers are having that party elsewhere in heaven.
As good as she was at communicating with her friends and as good as she got at it with you, it must have been a challenge for her. It must have been really frustrating at times not to have those words to be able to communicate.
Yeah, I was always really astonished. Of course, there were frustrating times, but I was always amazed at her ability to persist, to persevere, to not give up when trying to get something across to us. And of course, we were very glad to stick with her and try to figure it out. But it was always like we had discovered fire when we finally figured out what she was trying to say. But she knew that she was valued and that her opinions and her wants and needs were important to us.
And I mean, was that a challenge for you as parents to have a child who you couldn't?
Of course, yeah. But it was a challenge that we were very happy to take on for the rest of our lives, because she was absolutely 1,000 times worth it.
And I understand that she had a particular fondness for the color purple. It seems like that was...
She did. One day I'll be able to ask her what the origin was, but we are Baltimore folks, so there was always a Ravens game on, and it was a pretty regular thing in our family to get your jersey on game day. And so that may be where it came from, or it may just be that was her favorite color. And many of her friends had the same favorite color, boys, girls, as well. So yeah, purple, any shade, deep, light, lavender, whatever. It was all about the purple.
And didn't people dress in purple in memory of her?
They did. As a matter of fact, for her birthday this year, through the Doug Flutie Foundation, we're doing a Paint It Purple fundraiser. So folks in her honor are being asked to make a donation and send us a picture of themselves in purple that we can put on our Facebook page there. So, yeah.
And that foundation raises money for autism, correct?
Exactly. I don't know how this happened. I didn't really have a lot of connection with them before I knew of them. And after she died, we had friends and strangers and parishioners, neighbors that wanted desperately to have a way to show their concern and support for us. And so we started receiving, inquiries. What do you want us to do? Are you setting something up? And it seems like in a matter of days, my husband had reached out through a friend to the Flutie Foundation, and we said, what we really want to do is have this money available directly to families, because there's not a lot out there directly for granting to families for the many costs that are associated with autism. So they took a leap of faith with us and set up Joey's Fund, which does just that. So if there is some type of therapy or some kind of activity that insurance doesn't cover or that is not provided by the public school, Joey's Fund will take care of that through a grant.
Great, great. We're coming up now on 2 years since this happened. How are you doing? How's your family doing?
We are a work in progress, and I think we always will be. There's not really any point where I think you'll ever say, oh, I'm better now, or I've gotten over it. I think you just carry this with you. There's no way around that, and our hearts will always be very broken about our loss of her and just missing her on a day-to-day basis. But we keep her close. We know, we trust that she's with God, and that's tremendous comfort to us.
How do you talk to your other 2 daughters about what happened and about Joey?
We just started talking about it right from the beginning. From those first moments where we had to explain to them that she wasn't coming home, we had to begin that dialogue, and it's something that we kind of had to shape together as a family. But we continue to have that conversation, and we allow them the chance to lead their own recovery, their own, they get to ask their own questions at their own pace. We don't push, but we offer our constant support to them.
That day, how quickly did your thoughts turn to school security?
Really almost immediately. I had my teacher hat on, and I was thinking back to my previous experiences with lockdowns for simple, simple crises or smaller crises that we'd had in the school community, reunifying at the elementary school where I taught on 9/11. And I just thought, after all of these traumas and tragedies and experiences that we have, here we are really not that much better off than we were in the days of Columbine. And I was very struck by that and this sort of message of, we have to do better.
What could have been done differently that day?
Hindsight's 2020. So I feel very much that it's our responsibility to use that to make sure that if a crisis unfolds in another community, we can respond in a better way. We can do a better job. But certainly examining access is something that we had to look very seriously at. We had a locked front door, we had a buzz-in system, and we had visitor protocols, so we had some basics. But because our minds never went to the unthinkable, we hadn't really thought it through to the point that would have really helped us on that day. So, our intruder was able to get into the building within seconds simply by breaking a window.
And you've made it your mission to help people think about this kind of thing with safe and sound, right? Tell us about that.
Absolutely. You just don't, as part of a normal life, packing lunches, teaching reading, coaching baseball, you just don't typically think of things like this. But there are things that we have built into our lives that we don't think of anymore, like buckling into our cars, using car seats, locking the door behind us, at night before we go to bed. So we know that it's possible to alter our behavior in a way that makes us safer and that gives us a sense of security. So that's kind of where Safe and Sound began, this notion of being able to do better. And that's what we do. We visit school communities and organizations that are invested in school safety, law enforcement organizations, school psychologist organizations, and so on, and share and discuss and speak with them about how they can do better and what we can learn and then share with our national community that is safe and sound.